Good morning. Pardon me if I read from my little iPad, but as you know, I don't have any sophisticated equipment here. My memory's not too good. Here we go. It's difficult to place Time Girl within a genre because although I've written time travel stories before, this one is entirely different. My first one, my very first book, Daffodils in Autumn, dealt with what it would have been like for a mother and her child to be thrown back into time and not being able to get back, and how they would have survived. And it was a long novel, some 230,000 words, but it was written a long time ago, and I look back now and I can see it had flaws. Now, I'm still proud of it though, all because it was my first baby. But like all authors, I thought I could do better. So eventually, some 10 years later, I wrote the 7th series, A Romp in Time, which was a fantasy comedy. And that's already up here in YouTube. Now, I wrote that over a long period, and I stand by that series as imaginative and having characters as well developed and having their arcs coming to a satisfactory conclusion. However, the idea of a solitary person being thrown back in time and surviving still intrigued me. And so even later in my career, Time Girl was imagined and eventually was produced as a 7-book series. This 7-book series. But this was no mere fantasy. How could it be? My protagonist, Luna, dear Luna, undergoes trials that would test the fortitude of the most strongest of people. Because in this dark noir series, there is death, violence, mayhem, and suffering of the kind a popular 23-year-old woman from 2018 should never, ever undergo. But yet, it's all so reasonable. And if you reach the ending, book 7, possibly quite plausible, apologies, and you may uncover something about yourself. Maybe. Anyway, this first book chronicles the experiences of Luna, a modern-day music student and amputee who is mysteriously transported from 2018 to Victorian London, specifically 1871. This story explores the jarring contrast between contemporary values and the strict social hierarchies of the past, specifically through Luna's interactions with the wealthy Hutton family and their servants. Central to the plot is Luna's unconventional pregnancy with Horatio Hutton, a situation complicated by her realization that she may be carrying her own ancestor. Ultimately, the story functions as a reflection on memory, historical progress, and human resilience as Luna navigates medical limitations and class prejudices before returning to her own time, leaving behind a legacy documented by the family she helped transform. As I did previously, the next part will be put up every other day, and I hope you enjoy them. If you would like to subscribe and ring that bell, that would be wonderful. And if you comment, I will read and reply to everyone. Good day.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is great to have you with us again.
Great to be here.
So today, we are cracking open something that is, well, it's a little difficult to categorize. And honestly, that's exactly why we picked it. Usually, we're looking at things that fit in a neat box. A business biography, a scientific breakthrough, maybe a political thriller.
Even a clear-cut genre.
But today,
Yeah.
we're looking at a story that takes a stack of different genres, throws them into a blender, and just hits puree without putting the lid on.
That is a very vivid image. And you know what? It completely fits.
Right.
Yeah, we're looking at book 1, I Was Left in 1871. And just that title alone gives you a sense of the displacement we're dealing with.
It does.
And it's the first entry in a larger saga, which I think is really important to keep in mind. We're setting up a whole universe here, not just a single self-contained story.
Right. Book 1 of 7, if I'm recalling correctly. So we are absolutely at the trailhead of a very long journey. And on the surface, if you just read the back cover, you might think, okay, time travel romance. I've seen this before. I know this drill.
The Outlander thing.
Exactly. Modern woman falls through a magic stone, lands in the past, meets a rugged man in a kilt, or in this case, I guess, a frock coat, and they live happily ever after.
And if you went in expecting that, you would be in for a very, very rude and very gritty awakening.
Ah, about that.
Because while, the romance elements are definitely there, this narrative is fundamentally a survival horror story blended with some really high-concept sci-fi.
Okay, now I'm interested.
It deals with body horror, alien abduction, and a really unflinching look at what it means to be disabled in an era before, ADA compliance was even a fever dream.
See, that is the hook for me. The protagonist, Luna Hutton, isn't just a generic vessel for the reader to inhabit. She has this very specific, very physical reality that dictates everything about how she interacts with the world.
Absolutely. And I think we have to unpack Luna before we even get to the time travel.
I agree.
Because understanding who she is in 2018 is the absolute key to understanding her struggle in 1871.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Who is Luna?
Luna is 23 years old. She's living in Rickmansworth. She's a music student. But the defining feature of her existence, the thing that shapes her entire daily routine, is that she is an amputee.
And we aren't talking about a minor injury here. She lost her right lower leg. And the source of material is really heavy on the backstory for this. This wasn't a congenital condition. This was a trauma, a serious one.
It was a drunk driving accident 4 years before the book starts. And the emotional weight of that event is just massive.
It's not just the physical loss.
Not at all. Luna wasn't driving, but the crash killed her boyfriend, Liam. And to make it even more complicated, Luna's parents and Liam's parents were lifelong friends.
Oh, wow.
So the accident didn't just break her body, it completely shattered her entire social infrastructure. There is this huge unspoken rift between the two families.
That kind of survivor's guilt that's a heavy, heavy load to carry. And as the text mentions, she used to be a party girl, right? The word hedonistic gets thrown around quite a bit.
It does. Before the accident, she was living that chaotic early 20s life. Drugs, alcohol, late nights, the whole thing. But the accident was the hard reset, a complete stop.
A wake-up call.
A brutal one. By the time we meet her in 2018, she has swung the pendulum completely to the other side. She is disciplined to the point of obsession.
In what way?
She's a vegetarian, a non-smoker, a teetotaler, and her entire life revolves around one goal, training for the London Marathon.
Which is an incredible feat for anyone, let alone an amputee. But this brings us to the technology, because Luna isn't just, hobbling around. She is a cyborg, essentially.
That's the best possible way, yeah. She uses this incredibly high-tech prosthetic. It's made of carbon fiber and titanium. I think she calls it a biomechanical modern marvel at one point.
Because it's not just for walking.
No. This is a piece of engineering designed for energy return for speed. It's a running blade. It allows her to not just walk, but to run competitively. It represents her reclaiming her autonomy. It is, for her, freedom.
And visually, she's not trying to hide any of this, right? She's not trying to blend in.
Not at all. She's covered in tattoos. She has piercings. The book mentions a belly button ring. And she wears these long acrylic nails. She's 6 feet tall. She is loud, both visually and in her personality. She is a woman of the 21st century in every conceivable way.
So let's set the scene for the inciting incident. It's 2018. Luna's doing what she does best.
She's running.
She's running.
She's on a training run along the Victoria Embankment in London, right near the Temple. She's with her friend Sophia, who is also an amputee, a survivor of bone cancer.
So there's a real bond there.
It's a huge bond. So you have these two incredibly powerful women using this advanced technology to push their bodies to the limit. Luna is in the zone. The endorphins are flowing. It's a moment of pure triumph for her.
And then chaos.
Complete and utter chaos. A woman steps out from literally nowhere. In that split second of the collision, Luna calls her a trash woman. Just a flash of adrenaline-fueled anger, you know?
Sure.
But the impact is severe. Luna goes flying. She hits a stone pillar. She cuts her head open. She's on the ground, dazed, swearing, bleeding.
Yeah, in a normal drama, this is where you'd hear the ambulance sirens.
Mm-hmm.
But here, the genre takes a very sharp, very sudden left turn into sci-fi horror.
It really does. While she's lying there trying to get her bearings, she sees something behind a stone hut. She describes it as a white monster.
A monster. Like, not a person?
Yeah.
She's sure about that.
Definitely not a person. She describes it as being pale, totally hairless, with this waxy-looking skin and sunken dark eyes. It looks alien.
That's terrifying.
And it's not just observing her from a distance. It reaches out and it touches her.
And that touch isn't... It's not a helping hand. It's a capture method.
It is exactly that. She wakes up, and she is not in a hospital. She is strapped to a cold metal table. She's paralyzed, but she's fully conscious.
Oh, that's the worst part.
And this is that body horror element we mentioned. She is being subjected to a medical examination by this creature, or maybe a group of them. It's not entirely clear.
The description here is just chilling. This isn't a take me to your leader kind of alien encounter. This is a lab rat scenario.
It is deeply invasive. The source text is very explicit about it. They are taking samples, fluids, they're looking at her teeth, internal examinations. It's all very clinical and absolutely terrifying.
And she's drugged, but still aware.
She's drugged, yeah.
Yeah.
She mentions seeing a luminal light and hearing this low hum, but she is aware enough to feel the violation. This immediately establishes the antagonist. This isn't some magical, gentle time slip. This is an abduction. It implies intent. It implies that she's a specimen.
And just when the terror hits its absolute peak, the scene shifts again. She wakes up a second time.
And this is what the book calls the shift. The metal table is gone. The aliens are gone. But the horror remains, just in a different form.
Where is she? She's lying on the ground, back at the temple, the same geographic location she was taken from. But everything is different.
And the first thing she notices is the silence, isn't it?
The silence is the biggest clue. I mean, think about London in 2018. It is never, ever silent.
Never.
You have the constant roar of traffic, the sirens, the planes overhead, the general hum of a massive city. When she wakes up, that entire wall of sound is just gone.
What's it replaced with?
The sound of rain, the distant clip-clop of a horse, and the wind. Simple, organic sounds.
And the smell. You can't forget the smell.
The smell is aggressive. It's coal smoke, wet wool, and manure. It's the smell of 1871. But for Luna, the most terrifying realization isn't the date. It's not the sounds or the smells. It's her leg.
Her carbon fiber leg is gone.
It didn't travel with her. She is lying in the mud, wearing this strange, thin, white gown, and her high-tech prosthetic is gone. She's physically incapacitated.
I just want to pause on that for a second because it is such a crucial, brilliant plot point.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of time travel stories, the protagonist brings their skills with them. You know, the Navy SEAL goes back in time and is still a Navy SEAL.
Right. They have their modern knowledge, their training.
But Luna's superpower, her running ability, her discipline, is tied to a piece of technology that she has just lost. She is instantly, completely vulnerable.
It changes the stakes entirely. She can't run away. She can barely crawl. She is a woman alone at night in a much darker, much more dangerous version of London, and she's unable to walk. It is an absolute nightmare scenario.
But this is where we really see what Luna is made of. Because most people, and I'd include myself in this, would probably just curl into a ball and wait for the end.
Right, give up.
But she hears something happening nearby.
She hears a commotion. A carriage has been stopped. It's a mugging in progress. A group of men are attacking a woman. And Luna, despite the pain, despite the confusion, despite the missing leg, she decides she is not going to just lie there and watch.
The text mentioned she was a javelin thrower in school, right?
Yeah.
Which is such a great detail.
It's a fantastic detail, and that skill comes right back to her. She grabs stones from the ground, she sits up, targets the attackers, and starts hurling these rocks with, like, Olympic precision.
No way.
Oh, yeah. She beans one of them right in the head. She screams, "Police!" at the top of her lungs, which, you know, is a word that works in both centuries.
That's a good point.
and she manages to drive them off.
Talk about a first impression. That's incredible.
It is. She saves this woman who turns out to be a Mrs. Hutton, and you have to imagine the scene from Mrs. Hutton's perspective.
Okay.
You've just been attacked by ruffians, you're terrified, and your savior is this 6-foot-tall woman lying in the mud, wearing what looks like a hospital gown, missing a leg, covered in tattoos and with strange plastic nails, screaming at you in this bizarre clipped accent.
Mrs. Hutton must have thought she was hallucinating or that this was part of the attack.
Yeah. She is completely baffled. Her first thought is that Luna is circus folk, or maybe a foreigner who's been shipwrecked, but she's also a woman of honor. Luna saved her life. So Mrs. Hutton bundles this strange, muddy creature into her carriage and takes her home.
And so begins the culture clash chapter of our deep dive. Luna enters the Hutton household.
And the Hutton household is really a microcosm of Victorian society. It's very structured, very hierarchical.
Right. Upstairs, downstairs.
Exactly. At the top, you have Mrs. Hutton. She's wealthy, she's very traditional, but she's also quite vulnerable. She suffers from these debilitating migraines.
And her husband.
Mr. Hutton, a lawyer who works at the temple.
Yep.
Very serious, very stiff upper lip, a classic Victorian patriarch.
And of course the son, Horatio.
The inevitable love interest, yes. He's 23, the same age as Luna. He's handsome, naturally, but more importantly, he's surprisingly open-minded. He's curious. He hasn't been completely hardened by the world yet.
But for me, the most interesting dynamic, at least at the start, is with the staff.
Oh, absolutely. The downstairs staff are Luna's lifeline in this new world. You've got Polly, the lady's maid. She becomes Luna's primary ally, her best friend in this century.
She needs one.
She desperately needs one. Then there's Anne, a young scullery maid with this just tragic backstory. She lost her entire family to the Great Stink.
Which grounds the story in real history. The Great Stink of 1858 isn't a joke. It was a massive humanitarian disaster.
It was horrific. The cholera outbreaks caused by the raw sewage in the Thames killed tens of thousands of people. And it reminds Luna, and it reminds us, that the past was deadly in ways we can barely comprehend. But the most important connection Luna makes, I think, is with Simeon.
Simeon the gardener.
Simeon is the mirror image of Luna. He is also an amputee. He lost his leg years ago to an infection he got from a dirty pond.
But he doesn't have a carbon fiber blade. He's not running any marathons.
No, he has a wooden crutch and a stump. He represents the stark reality of disability in 1871. There is no rehab. There is no high-tech solution. You just cope.
And he helps her.
He does. Simeon crafts a wooden crutch for Luna. It's a crude, heavy tool compared to what she's used to, but it gives her mobility back. It's a gesture that bonds them instantly.
And every good story needs a villain inside the house, right?
Yeah.
A more immediate threat.
Enter Nanny Alma. She's the old guard. She's been with the family for decades. She is suspicious of everything everyone knew. She looks at Luna and sees the devil.
That's a bit extreme.
She's judgmental, she's nasty, and she is constantly trying to undermine Luna's position in the house. Luna privately refers to her as the arse, which I think captures the sentiment perfectly.
I think so, too. So Luna is physically stuck in this house. She has her crutch now, but she's still very much a prisoner of circumstance.
She is. And the source material spends a lot of time on the daily grind. It's not just the big plot points. It's the little mundane things that are so alien to her, like the bathroom situation.
This is where the deep dive gets real, as you said.
It really does. Luna struggles immensely with the lack of modern toilets. She makes this great comment that quilted cottonelle, it was not.
Huh? No, I imagine not.
The chamber pots, the outhouses, it's a form of degradation that hits her really hard. It's a loss of privacy and dignity.
And the underwear. I honestly never thought I'd spend this much time thinking about Victorian underwear, but the book makes a really big deal out of it.
It's a major plot point. And it's fascinating, as Mrs. Hutton subscribes to this specific health culture movement of the time, the Jaeger movement, that believed wool was the only sanitary fabric.
Wool?
Yes. So she forces Luna to wear woolen underwear, woolen everything, really.
Woolen underwear in the damp, cold London weather. That just sounds like a rash waiting to happen.
Luna is absolutely horrified. There is this whole scene where they go to a shop in Princess Street to buy these sanitary garments. It's itchy, it's heavy, it's layered.
And she's used to modern athletic gear.
Exactly. For a woman used to breathable, high-performance, moisture-wicking fabrics, being encased in layers of wool and corsets is a form of torture. It restricts her movement. It makes her feel trapped in her own clothes.
So she's physically trapped, and now she's sartorially trapped.
Perfectly put.
And then there's the medical scrutiny.
Yeah.
A doctor comes to see her, right? Dr. Walsh.
This scene is just a masterclass in showing, not telling, the culture clash. Dr. Walsh is called in to examine the invalid, and he is completely, utterly baffled by her body.
Where does he even start?
First, her teeth. Luna has dental implants, screw-in teeth. To a Victorian doctor, seeing perfectly white, perfectly aligned manufactured teeth that are literally anchored into the jawbone is beyond comprehension. He has no reference for it.
And her eyes, too.
Yeah, she's wearing blue contact lenses over her natural green eyes. At one point, she just pops one out to show him, and he nearly faints. He thinks it's made of glass. He thinks it's some kind of black magic.
But the real conflict, the one that really speaks to the gender politics of the time, happens when she opens her mouth about her hobbies.
She tells him she's a runner.
She tells him she was trained for the London Marathon.
Yeah.
And Dr. Walsh, well, he doesn't marvel at her athleticism. He doesn't ask about her training regimen.
No. He diagnoses her with female hysteria.
Of course he does. It's the catch-all.
In his worldview, the female frame is delicate. It is not built for running, certainly not 26 miles. He literally tells her that if she goes around telling people she runs marathons, the police will lock her up in an asylum because she is clearly dangerously delusional.
It's funny in a very dark way, but it highlights the real danger she's in. She's competent, she's athletic, she's sane, but by the standards of 1871, she is a lunatic.
Exactly. And she sees that injustice everywhere she looks. She sees it in how the servants are treated. Polly and Simeon are in love, but they can't do anything about it.
Why not?
If Polly marries, she loses her job. Servants were expected to be single and devote their entire lives only to the family they served. Luna, coming from 2018 with her strong views on autonomy and equality, just finds this infuriating.
So she starts to realize she can't keep lying.
Yeah.
She's been claiming amnesia to avoid being sent to the asylum, but that's not a long-term strategy. She needs allies.
She does, and she makes a really smart choice. She decides to trust the people who have the least power in the house, the servants. She reveals her true identity to Polly and Simeon.
That is a massive risk. She just tells them.
She sits them down and tells them, plainly, I was born in 1995.
Well, what did they say? Why on earth would they believe her?
Because of the physical evidence, the tattoos, the belly button piercing, the screw-in teeth, the contact lenses. None of these things exist in their world. They've seen them. They know she's not normal.
So the things that make her a lunatic to the doctor are what make her credible to them.
Precisely. But it's the leg that truly convinces Simeon. Luna explains that in her time, she had a leg made of something called carbon fiber that was so light and strong it allowed her to run like the wind.
And he gets it.
Simeon can't visualize the material, but he recognizes the longing in her voice. He knows what it is to lose a limb and dream of being whole again. He believes her because he feels her loss on a personal level.
So she has her team downstairs, a small secret circle of trust. But upstairs, things are getting a little more complicated with Horatio.
The romance is definitely blooming. Horatio is just drawn to her because she is so completely different from any woman he has ever met.
She's not a demure Victorian lady.
Not even close. She's direct, she's blunt, she challenges him. There's this lovely little detail where she fixes the piano tuning. She has perfect pitch from her music studies, and the Victorian tuning is driving her crazy, so she just fixes it.
And he sees that.
He watches this woman who supposedly has hysteria mechanically and perfectly tune a piano and then play beautifully. He's completely hooked.
There is a problem, a big one.
Her
last name is Hutton. His last name is Hutton.
The grandfather paradox rears its ugly head.
Yeah.
Luna starts to spiral. She does the math. She looks at the family tree in her head and realizes there is a very, very strong possibility that these people are her direct ancestors.
Which means if she gets involved with Horatio...
Is she dating her great-great-grandfather?
That is the ultimate taboo. It's a
Yeah.
whole other level of complicated.
It creates a lot of anxiety for her, as you can imagine. But eventually, the connection between them is just too strong to ignore. And honestly, she needs him to know the truth, too. He's the one person upstairs who might believe her.
So he confronts her.
He does. He confronts her about her flimsy cover stories. She's been claiming to be from the Americas or France, but her accent doesn't match either one. He knows she's lying. So she sits him down and just drops the truth bomb.
How much does she tell him? All of it.
Everything. She tells him about airplanes, about horseless carriages. She tells him about the Channel Tunnel connecting England and France. She tells him that in her time, in 2018, the prime minister is a woman.
I bet the female prime minister was harder for him to believe than the airplanes.
Probably. And he tries to apply Victorian logic to it all. He calculates how fast a machine would have to move to cross the Atlantic in 8 hours and dismisses it as a physical impossibility.
But he doesn't dismiss her.
He doesn't. He listens. And when they finally consummate their relationship, the plot pivots. It moves from being about survival to being about mission.
Because biology works the same in every century. She gets pregnant.
She does. And this realization hits her like a ton of bricks. Up until this point, she thought her abduction was random. A mistake. A cruel cosmic joke. But once she realizes she is carrying a Hutton baby in the year 1871, all the pieces start to click into a terrifying pattern.
She thinks it was planned. She thinks this was the whole point.
She hypothesizes that the Hutton family line, her family line, was destined to die out right here in 1871. Maybe Horatio was going to die childless. Maybe the line was broken somehow. She comes to believe she was abducted and sent back for one specific purpose.
To act as a broodmare.
That's the term she uses. To breed with her ancestor and ensure the lineage continues so that she herself can eventually be born.
That is so dark. It removes her agency completely. It makes her a tool.
It does, and then the alien confirms it.
The white monster comes back.
She goes back to the temple gate, desperate for answers, for any kind of explanation, and the white monster appears. But it doesn't attack her this time. It doesn't experiment on her.
What does it do?
It asks one simple, chilling question. Is it done yet?
Is it done yet? Wow.
Imagine hearing that. It implies a checklist. It implies a task. It implies she's an employee who has just completed a project. It confirms that the pregnancy is the it. The alien doesn't care about her happiness or her trauma or her broken heart. It cares about the biological result.
So she accepts her fate. She's here to have this baby. But Luna being Luna, she isn't going to just sit there and knit booties. She decides to change the future for her friends.
This is the almanac section of the story, and it is just so satisfying.
I love these kinds of plots.
She remembers she has a few items from 2018 stashed away in a pouch she was wearing. She has a bunch of diamonds.
Why did she have a pouch of diamonds on a training run? That seems a bit odd.
The backstory is that she had maxed out her credit cards buying them, maybe as an investment or just a sort of manic post-trauma impulse purchase. The reason isn't as important as the fact that she has them.
And more importantly,
she has pages torn from a history book.
Again, a strange item to have on a run, but we'll roll with it. The plot demands it.
Maybe she was studying at a cafe before the run. The source isn't explicit, but she has these pages. And they cover the years 1860 to 1963. It is a cheat sheet for the next 100 years of history.
So is the plan.
She sits Polly and Simeon down. She gives them the diamonds for capital, and she gives them the pages. She tells them, this is how you win. This is how you escape this life.
She's giving them stock tips from the future.
Exactly. She shows them who wins the Grand National for the next few years. She shows them the cricket scores for the Ashes, but the big one. She points to a name and tells them to look out for a man named Henry Ford.
She tells them to invest in cars, in the automotive industry.
She tells them to invest in the future. She instructs them to use this incredible wealth to buy their freedom, to open the flower shop Polly has always dreamed of, and to get married and have a family. She is essentially setting up a massive trust fund for her friends using future knowledge.
It's her legacy. She knows she might disappear after the birth or even die in childbirth, so she's making sure they're safe.
Precisely. She's paying forward the kindness they showed her. But she also has to handle Mrs. Hutton. Nanny Alma has been poisoning Mrs. Hutton's ear, saying Luna is mad and needs to be committed to an asylum before the baby comes.
The clock is ticking.
It is. So Luna confronts Mrs. Hutton directly. She gives what I call the Copernicus speech.
How did that go?
She basically says, look, a few hundred years ago, people burned scientists for saying the Earth revolved around the sun. Just because you don't understand my truth doesn't mean it's not real.
That's a bold move.
It's a huge gamble. She predicts scientific shifts. She uses her advanced knowledge to prove she isn't mad, just displaced. And Mrs. Hutton is an intelligent woman. She listens. She agrees to protect Luna.
And then the inevitable happens. The baby comes.
Section 4. The departure and the twist. It's now 1872. Luna goes into labor. It's a home birth. No epidural, no monitors, just grit and pain and Polly by her side. She gives birth to a healthy baby boy. They name him James.
And the moment the baby arrives, the mission is complete.
The moment she holds James, she feels it. That sense of completion. The alien's question, is it done yet, has been answered. It is done. The lineage is secure. The paradox is fulfilled.
That must be the most heartbreaking feeling in the world. to give birth to your child knowing you have to leave them.
It's devastating. She knows that if she stays, she might endanger the timeline. Or maybe she physically can't stay, maybe the contract is up. She says her goodbyes. She returns to the temple gate one last time.
And the white monster is there.
It appears. There's a flash, a sensation of being pulled apart and put back together.
And then
Noise. That wall of sound we talked about at the very beginning, it's back. The roar of traffic. She wakes up on the cold pavement. It's raining. There are cars whizzing by. She is back in 2018.
But she's not whole.
No. Her high-tech leg, which she obviously didn't have in 1871, is still missing. She's lying on the ground, an amputee again, missing her prosthetic. Her friend Sophia eventually finds the prosthetic back in her flat, which implies it was left behind or maybe transported separately by the aliens.
So she's back. But she is broken in a whole new way. She's left her son in the 19th century.
The aftermath is just brutal. She's reunited with Sophia and her sister Blanche. But how do you possibly explain where you've been? How do you explain you spent a year in the past and gave birth to a child? You can't.
So she's grieving.
She's grieving a child that, according to history, died 100 years ago. It's an impossible, isolating sorrow.
But the story gives us closure. It has to. She goes back to the side of the house.
She does. The old Hutton house is long gone, replaced by a block of flats called the Royal Crescent, but the connection endures. A few days later, Luna receives a letter, a hand-delivered letter from a law firm inviting her to a house in Mayfair to meet a woman named Camille Haverfield.
Haverfield. That was Simeon's last name.
Exactly. Luna goes to this address. It's not just a house, it's a mansion. Camille is an older woman, and she is incredibly wealthy. We are talking billionaire-level wealth.
Yeah, the almanac worked.
And she reveals the truth. She is the direct descendant of Simeon and Polly. It worked beyond their wildest dreams. Simeon and Polly did exactly what Luna told them to do. They bet on the horses, they invested in Ford, they built a massive financial empire, and they kept a secret.
What was the secret?
They kept a secret archive. A vault of letters and photos specifically for Luna, passed down from generation to generation with instructions to find her in the year 2018.
That's incredible. And James, the baby.
Camille confirms the most important thing. James was raised by the Huttons as their own son. He was loved. He lived a full, long life. He didn't die of cholera or some other Victorian disease. He grew up. And that knowledge is the only thing that allows Luna to finally breathe again.
But there's one final twist, and this is the part that just melts my brain every time I think about it. The paradox of the buried box.
This is where book one leaves us with a massive, mind-bending sci-fi question. Camille goes to the vault, and she hands Luna the original pouch of diamonds and Simeon's handwritten notes, the exact items Luna gave them in 1871.
Okay, so she got her diamonds back. That's a nice little bow on top.
But think about the timeline for a second. Luna realizes her original plan had a fatal flaw. In the past, she had told Polly that she would bury the items in 2018, so they would be there for them to dig up in 1871.
Right, like a time capsule.
But Polly, in her notes, pointed out the logical impossibility of that. You can't bury something in the future to be found in the past. Time only moves forward.
Right, if I bury a box in my garden today, I can dig it up in 10 years. I can't dig it up yesterday. That makes no sense.
Exactly. So the question is, how did the diamonds and the history pages get to 1871 in the first place? Polly realized that for Luna to be able to physically give them the items had to have arrived with Luna during the abduction.
So the white monster didn't just take her. It took her and her running belt with the pouch.
That is the only logical implication. The alien intervention wasn't just grabbing a woman, it was a carefully curated transport of a woman and the seed capital necessary to secure the family's future. It suggests a level of orchestration that is just mind-boggling.
And it creates a loop, a time loop. The diamonds exist in 2018. They go back to 1871. They are kept by the Haverfield family for over a century. They're then given back to Luna in 2018.
It's a causal loop. The diamonds have no origin, they just circulate through time. They are what's known as an ontological paradox. They exist because they have always existed in this loop.
So let's zoom out. We have covered a lot of ground here. Survival, disability, romance, aliens, and brain-melting time loops. What is the big takeaway here from book one?
For me, it's a story about resilience. Luna is stripped of everything that makes her powerful in the modern world, her technology, her legal rights, her social status. She is forced to survive in a hostile, brutal environment, but she absolutely refuses to break. She imposes her will on the past. She saves her friends. She saves her family line.
And it really, really de-romanticizes the Victorian era. There's no glamour here.
Oh, completely. It reminds you that the past smells bad, it hurts, and it can kill you young. It makes you deeply appreciate antibiotics and, yes, quilted cottonelle.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
But the alien and its question leave us with a very provocative thought to end on.
It does. And this is a thought I want our listeners to really chew on. If Luna was sent back specifically to breed with her ancestor to save the bloodline,
Here comes, my brain is already hurting.
does that mean she is her own ancestor?
Okay, walk me through that. How does that work?
If the Hutton line was going to die out in 1871 without her intervention, then James, her son, is the key to the family continuing, which means Luna's father and then Luna herself are direct descendants of James.
So she went back in time to give birth to her own great-great-grandfather.
Which means she is the origin of her own existence. If she hadn't gone back in time, she'd never have been born in 1995 to be able to go back.
It's a closed loop. She created herself, a snake eating its own tail.
It creates a paradox where there is no beginning. There's just the cycle. Luna is born, she has the accident, she's abducted, she gives birth to James. The line continues, Luna is born. Round and round forever.
That's both terrifying and fascinating. It suggests that her entire life, her entire identity in 2018 is just a byproduct of this predetermined, unbreakable loop.
It suggests that we might all be pawns in some kind of four-dimensional chess game played by pale, hairless aliens who just want to make sure the paperwork is in order.
Well, on that absolute brain melter of a thought, we are going to wrap up this deep dive into Book 1, I Was Left in 1871.
It's a wild ride, and you have to remember this is just book 1. The universe only gets bigger and stranger from here.
I can't wait to see where it goes next. Thanks for listening, everyone. Go hug your dentist, appreciate your plumbing, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone.